Hey, welcome back to Reach Your Dew Point, the podcast that asks you what? Um, and today I have with me a dear friend who I've known for quite a while. I think since 2007, I think somewhere back in there.
I think you're right.
And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Pete McGarahan, well known to folks in the IT service management and customer service worlds. And I'm going to start by picking up a theme that Kirk Weisler and I talked about when I recently talked to Kirk. We talked about staying in touch and reaching out to people. And in a recent article that you wrote for ICMI, to contact center folks, you said staying in touch is less about frequency and more about intention. It's about letting people know you remember them, value them, and wish them well. And it's something that you do. You're very natural at it and very, very frequent at it. I'll get a text from you, sometimes including our mutual friend, Mr. Mims, and just to say hi, just to say, here's what's going on, or here's something that you might be interested in. You just do that so frequently. How did you get started doing that? What is the intention, since you use that word? What's the intention you have there? And tell me more about why you do it and what you do.
Sure. I would say over my 40 plus year career, the people that I've met and the people that have influenced me, connected with me, become friends with me, colleagues, have been instrumental in developing me both as a professional, but more importantly, as a person. I clearly think who I am is not just because of me or my family or how I was raised, but the community of friends that I've made over the years that have maybe steered me in a different direction, the right direction, or kind of helped me along that journey. In fact, my second article that I'm writing for ICMI is all about the journey. And it's like part two of the first one, where connecting with people is so important. The other aspect of that is you never really know what somebody is going through unless you reach out to them and see what's going on in their life. I was recently talking to my wife and saying, wow, how come, no one's calling me? How comes no one's reaching out? How come I'm always the one to, be reaching out? And she told me to quit whining and start calling people. So I did. And it's amazing what you find out, what people are going through in their lives. And sometimes they just need that call or that contact to help them go through it, or know that people care about them and want to help and remember who they are in that whole friendship bonding thing. So I think it's extremely important. I think our industry has really promoted that and supported that. And that's what I love most about our industry, is that connection between people.
Yeah, I think it's natural for people in service and support to do those things, service and support, right?
Yeah. It's why they're
People
good at
want to,
customer service, and,
yeah.
they care about the customer. They want to get to know the customer because that's part of their makeup of who they are.
And that's part of the problem. No, that's the solution. That's it. Solution and problem. I get those two mixed up all the time. You've had a long career in IT service and support and customer service, and your teams have won quite a few awards in that regard over the years,
Yeah. Very proud,
and
by the way.
and rightfully so. I mean, they're just really good industry awards. And so, tell me a little bit more about how you approach developing a team and getting them on board with your approach to service and getting them willing to reach out and make connections.
Sure, sure. Well, I really think that that is all about the whole leadership piece. And as I think about leadership development and how critical it is to the success of teams, and what teams do and how they do it, and what motivates them to get up every morning and want to go to work, right? That passion, that drive. Way back when it was, just operational day to day stuff. You get up every morning, you do the same thing. And I was at an HDI conference with Ron Mums and Patrick Baltimore during the day, and they gave out this industry award. And I just sat there and I said, wow, how proud that leader must be and that team is of that accomplishment. And so I took it back to my team at Taco Bell and said, hey, are you guys interested in, best practices or, kind of the gap analysis of what teams are doing that are at the high level versus what we're doing, and just kind of take on a project and see what we could do. Well, they were all excited. It got them motivated. They bonded more as a team because of it. And then that next year, sitting in the front row there, waiting for the Team of the Year award, the HDI Team Excellence Award, and the Taco Bell team was picked. And I couldn't think of a prouder moment for me in terms of what the team had done to go from where they were to get that award. So that kind of inspired me just to help other team members identify what best practices are, how to apply them to where the business need is or the customer needs are, and really, from a team approach, make them better.
So, in in your view, the process of filing the application and completing the materials that you have to do to get the award, that's a team building process as well. Is that
And to your
right?
point, Roy, that was more important than the award. What we went together as a team to motivate them and help guide them into what they could do to get to the end of where we wanted to go, to write that document and identify those practices and the gaps and what we were going to do to get better. They grew a lot. They really did.
That's an important thing I think that might get missed. And we from a as you know, and you've been there too. I've been a frequent judge of various awards and so forth over the years. And some of the applications are extremely detailed and, really give people an opportunity to talk about what they did and are doing. But on the other hand, a lot of times, teams that might have a good project or something that they're working on miss the boat because they didn't pay attention to the rules.
Right.
So just doing that much really is kind of a team building exercise in itself. Okay, let's look over what we have to do, what we're responsible for, and let's work toward doing that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. And then just having an opportunity to interview some of the teams is a game changer as well. So I'm not saying that it's easy to put these kind of things down on paper, but literally you're just writing a document. What really is a game changer is meeting the leaders and meeting the team and seeing how they interact with one another, seeing how motivated and passionate they are, see how they kind of talk through their journey and what it meant to them to arrive. That is, I think, how you judge a team winner, an ex team excellence award winner. You got to
I
meet the people.
I think that's true, and I think that's a kind of a missing component now because we've gotten to do everything virtually,
Right.
and we don't have that opportunity to sit down with people and actually meet them and converse with them. And that was always an important component of that final judging when you sat down with the finalists and asked them questions across a table.
Yeah, it was probably one of the more pressured times in my career was when I had to go in and kind of be interviewed by the HDI board of directors. I think there were 10 of them. And then these are like the industry experts, the ones that started the whole thing. And, they collectively, they were the ones that made it work and made it happen. And now they're interviewing you on how got the team to that level that would win the award or something like that.
So you and I have both been witnesses to a tremendous amount of change in the industry.
We have.
And we're at a time now where there's a lot of tipping points where certainly, AI has been on everybody's vocabulary for the last whatever. I've been writing about AI for 10 years and its role in service and support. And now in the last couple of years, since the development of generative AI, especially, um, there's been an increase in the momentum in that regard because it can do a lot of things to help. Tell me a little bit about how you see things going in the future, not, from the general perspective, but just from the standpoint of augmentation, staff augmentation versus replacement, and how where you see things in that regard and what's important for organizations to focus on with their technical capabilities.
Well, I'll just start with the IT and customer support, service and support areas, right? So, obviously, there's some concern there that generative AI is going to severely impact, that industry, those teams, the team members, and I would agree. There's going to be some serious impact there in terms of how companies adopt AI to do service and support for customers. I do think it's important, though, that companies and their leaders think about AI from a company perspective, and think about it strategically in terms of what the company wants to do with AI, and then filter it down to the managers so that they're all working together so that the company doesn't have kind of separate or disparate strategies within HI that get conflicting or competitive, and they're not really solving the problems that need to be solved. Somebody just says, I think it's a good idea, let's do it. I think there needs to be a company approach, strategic approach to AI in terms of how the company plans to use it, adopt it, and benefit from it. Um, and I'm not seeing a lot of that right now. It just seems to be kind of one off. This is a great idea. Let's use it, and in different places. But I'm hoping that will change. The other thing I think is there is an opportunity to use AI to get rid of the repetitive, common type of issues and have AI handle those repetitive type of calls that come in that really the service and support person does add any value there. It's basically a knowledge article that if the customer wanted, they could use self-service and get it. So it's going to replace kind of the self-service and the chatbot kind of thing. I think the opportunity for service and support leaders is to think about it because they wanted to get rid of those contacts because they were non-value add. So use AI to get rid of those repetitive issues, those common questions, and being handled by AI. Well, now let's focus on what we couldn't do before because we didn't have the staff to do it. So what is that long list of, boy, if I had more people and I had more time, we would do this, we would do that. We would start working with the business and our customers more. We would understand what their needs are, what their challenges are. We would come up with programs that would enhance the customer experience. And for, the internal IT support, it's making them more productive with the use of technology and the use of application. On the customer side, it's like getting that loyalty, that brand loyalty. Wow, that service experience is so awesome. I'll never leave this company. And maybe I'll recommend the company to other people. So you got the referral thing going on. So to me, there's opportunities that have always been there. We haven't been able to take advantage of them, but I think now is the time to start thinking about that.
That echoes something that I said in a keynote that I did a little while back for a software company in our business. And I said that if you take your service desk and you have 20 agents and each of those agents handles 20 calls a day, and you can save their wrap up time, cut it down from 3 to 5 minutes to 3 to 5 seconds using
Right.
generative AI, which is totally capable of doing. You save each one of those agents an hour a day, right?
Yeah.
3 minutes a ticket, 20 tickets.
5 hours
Then
a
you
day, 20 hours a month, or 5 hours a week, 20 hours a month. Yeah.
then you get to decide, what do we do with that time and what have we not been doing, to your point. And I totally agree with you on that,
Yeah,
because a lot of times knowledge management gets neglected.
it does.
Follow up with customers, or seek proactively seeking out things that customers or end users or service consumers want and need, but don't get the opportunity to tell you. Have those conversations and advance the experience. As you said, that's perfectly spot on from my point of view as well. So we agree on that one.
And the whole concept of knowledge based utilization and using your metrics of the knowledge based utilization go back to, what are the top 10 most repetitive issues and problems that come up, do root cause analysis, do problem management. Let's find out not how we can deflect the issue, but let's find out how we can get rid of the issue so it doesn't happen again. We resolve the issue so it's not repetitive in nature. I mean, these are the opportunity that I think AI is bringing us. And the other one is the persona one. So, let's think about personas. I have a high level executive who makes $500,000 a year, and they have computer problems that impact their ability to get their job done. Well, what can I do to solve that? There's different opportunities if we look at different personas. The people out there doing the business for us that bring in $1 million, 5 million, $10 million in business. What if they have a computer problem or a repetitive issue? What impact is that on revenue, profitability? How do we focus on some of those what I call outside in, right? Take the outside
Mhm.
in perspective of who in our business and customers are the most productive and bring in the most revenue. And how do I make sure that they don't have any issues?
And even, I've gone down the rabbit hole of looking into the cost of lost productivity,
Yeah,
and from the end user perspective, and tried to get a handle on that. And it's a cost that almost nobody tracks or analyzes.
very true.
Although I a feather in my cap is that Georgia Tech is using my method of analyzing their lost productivity. So yay! But there's so much that we can do. So, as looking forward again, Pete, what are some of the things that you see that you just wish you could grab some people by the neck and shake them and say, "This has been the same problem for 20 years. Why don't you fix it?" I mean, I have a long list of those, but you probably have some as well.
Um, Yeah, I would say how we use portals would be one, right? And how do we design a portal like the Amazon site so that our customers feel comfortable and confident that they can easily go in and place an order for a new computer, a monitor, a headset, a phone, just making that whole. And sometimes people forget that that's a big part of the service desk or customer service or experience. It's not just issues, it's the request side of that, right? And if you think about what percentage of the incoming calls or incoming customer requests, what are requests, what are issues, do we separate them, do we do analysis on the requests, and taking it to that that portal side where we could basically just say, hey, it's as easy as ordering something from Amazon, and we have the back flow, the process flow, which interacts to our ITSM or procurement piece. And basically, there's no work on our part. That's a big one.
And yeah, that is a big one. And I think that I was back when I was doing research with HCI in my role there as an analyst. I was shocked to discover how many organizations were not separating incidents from requests in terms of measuring their volume.
Right?
It was about 50-50, or even less than that. I was stunned. And I thought, and the way I used to explain the difference between the two was an incident is clean up on aisle 3. A request is, could somebody reach the top shelf in aisle 3 and get that bottle of juice down for me?
Right.
That's the difference. It's, to put it in supermarket terms. And that's terms everybody can understand, I think.
Well, and
And
that's a great analogy because you think about somebody has to either get on a ladder or a tall person goes up top. But if somebody does it wrong or incorrectly, the glass jar from above falls, breaks. Now it goes from a bad request into an incident, and now you got this ripple effect that if somebody knew how to do it right the first time, you would eliminate all that extra work. So that's a good point. Good example.
well, well, one tries, Pete. One tries. So I love another thing that you said, following on from where we started the conversation, which was staying in touch with people. And one of the things that you said in that post for ICMI was uh, that you had reached out to a friend and you said, I can't thank you enough for many years of friendship, always taking the time to extend your thoughtfulness and kindness. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. You are a pro at doing that. You really have a handle on being thoughtful and kind. As I said, you reach out to people all the time. I've seen you do it over and over again, not just for me, but for other people as well. And how do you stay focused on that? What keeps you thinking about, it's I guess a lot of people call it mindfulness, being
Right.
aware of possibly the needs or wants of other people before they might even recognize them themselves. So how do you do that is my question.
I um I kind of dedicate some time during the day to think about my network, my friends, my colleagues. Every now and then I'll go into my phone and I'll look up my messages. So I have a kind of a long line, about 2 years of history of messages. And I'll go down there to the middle and say, oh my God, Roy, I haven't reached out to Roy in a bit. So I'll either text Roy or call him or do set up a meeting with him. But the messaging list in my phone is somewhat of a guide for me to kind of go through occasionally and say, I haven't reached out to Rick in a while. Let me see how Rick's doing or whatever. And then there's the occasion where I haven't talked to somebody in, maybe 10 years. So I have to first find out if the number is correct or the email. But I don't know. It's let's say an enjoyable and worthwhile challenge to for me to stay connected to all the people that I have met in my professional and personal life, and just kind of say hi, how are you, what's going on, thanks for being a friend, and we go from there.
Yes, sir. I could not agree with you more. And I find that having recurring meetings with people
Yeah.
is a great way to do it, and it's a wonderful thing. Just doesn't have to be every week, doesn't have
No,
to be
no,
every
no,
month,
no.
could be once a quarter, a couple times a year, just to get in touch with that person. And I will tell you this: uh, some of my friends are now in a stage where they can no longer communicate properly, and that is a gigantic loss. And so, if I have any advice to offer any of the listeners or watchers to the podcast, don't let people fall off the list.
No.
Touch base with them, because sooner or later you might lose them, and that's a really tough thing.
And you never really know what they're going through, and just
Mm.
your kindness of reaching out either inspires them, motivates them, or makes them feel good. And then on your side, you're like, wow, I'm so glad I called because we were able to connect. They told me something I didn't know. I knew they told me I didn't know they were going through that. Either way, And it doesn't take a lot of time, but it's very meaningful to everyone that you reach out to.
Could not agree more, sir.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to have this conversation. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You don't ever annoy me. Oh, sometimes you annoy. No, no, you never annoy me.
Yeah, but I do that on purpose. So
I know you do,
yeah, no
uh,
doubt about it.
and that's okay. We know each other well enough to know that part of the strategy of communication is to poke. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine. And so know your audience, folks. That's an important thing, right?
Well, I really enjoyed this, Roy. And, if I could ever have the opportunity to do it again, I would love to.